Hello friends, welcome to the channel EL Made Easy. Today we will study about phonetics. Definition, syllable, consonants, description of consonants, identification of consonants, vowels, different levels of meanings of a word formation, listening to English sounds, identification of sounds, intonation or voice modulation, types of intonation, and functions of intonation. Phonetics is the study of speech sounds. It includes understanding how sounds are made using the mouth, nose, teeth, and tongue, and also understanding how the ear hears those sounds and can tell them apart. A study of phonetics involves practicing producing sometimes exotic sounds and figuring out which sound you heard. The waveform of each sound can be analyzed with the help of computer programs. In sign language, phonetics refers to the possible shapes, movements, and use of physical space. Phonetics is the scientific study of the production, transmission, and reception of speech sounds. It studies the medium of spoken language. Touching upon physiology and physics, phonetics is now a pure science that studies speech processes, including the anatomy, neurology, and pathology of speech, as well as the articulation, description, classification, production, and perception of speech sounds. It looks at speech from three distinct but interdependent viewpoints. It studies the speech organs, which produce sounds of language. It studies waves, the physical form in which sounds are transmitted through the air from one person to another. And it studies the way in which human beings perceive sounds through the medium of the ear. Phonetics studies the defining characteristics of all human vocal noise and concentrates its attention on those sounds which occur in the languages of the world. In other words, phoneticians try to study how the various organs of speech, the lungs, larynx, the soft palate, the tongue, and the lip, function in the production of speech. They also attempt to offer articulatory descriptions of various sounds by describing the airstream mechanism and the phonetry and articulatory processes involved. Acoustic phoneticians examine the physical nature of sounds and analyze the speech waves with the help of various instruments. Syllable. First of all, we should know what is syllable. The units or sections into which words are divided while pronouncing them are called syllables. The syllables is a unit of pronunciation consisting of a vowel alone or of a vowel with one or more consonants. A vowel is the nucleus and consonant a marginal element in the syllable, that is, a consonant either at the beginning or at the end of a syllable. A consonant at the end of a syllable is called an arresting consonant, and at the beginning of a syllable is called releasing consonant. The marginal elements are not obligatory. These may occur either before the nucleus or after the nucleus, or some before and after the nucleus. The word pick consists of one syllable which consists of two marginal elements, releasing consonant and an arresting consonant, and of a nucleus, which is a vowel. It is also possible to have a cluster of two or three consonants before and or after the nucleus. For example, in school, we have the cluster of two consonants, S and K, and which is the first marginal element. Some syllables are made up of the nucleus alone. Example, I. Usually it is a vowel, for example, seat, SI and T, which forms a nucleus in a syllable, but in words of more than one syllable in English, the nucleus can also be a consonant, the second syllable of button and apple. It is also possible to explain the syllable in terms of the pulmonic airstream mechanism. In the production of speech, the air from the lungs does not come out in a continuous stream at a constant pressure. The muscles of the chest push the air out in small puffs at the rate of approximately 5 times a second, and each puff of air produces a syllable. Each movement of the muscles of the chest is known as a chest pulse. In order to produce a stressed syllable, a reinforced chest pulse is used. The English words president has three syllables, pres, I, and dent, and the first syllable is stressed, and it is on the arrangement of stressed and unstressed syllables and the way they follow one another that the rhythm of a language depends. Consonants. The word consonant has been derived from the Greek word consonatum, which means the sound produced with the help of some other sound vowel. Both the ancient Greeks and Indians defined the consonant as a sound produced with the help of a vowel, but such a definition is faulty and incomplete. First, there are sibilant consonants and some laterals and nasals which can be pronounced without the help of any vowel. Description of consonantal sounds must provide answers to the following questions. Is the airstream set in motion by the lungs or by some other means, pulmonic or non-pulmonic? Is the airstream forced outwards or sucked inwards? Aggressive or ingressive? Do the vocal cords vibrate or not? Voiced or voiceless? Is the soft palate raised or lowered, or does the air pass through the oral cavity mouth or the nasal cavity nose? At what point or points and between what organs does the closure or narrowing take place? Place of articulation. What is the type of closure or narrowing at the point of articulation? Manner of articulation. Thus, the description of a consonant will include five kinds of information. These are the nature of the airstream mechanism. Most speech sounds and all normal English sounds are made with an aggressive pulmonic airstream. Example, the air pushed out of the lungs. The state of glottis. A consonant may be voiced or voiceless, depending upon whether the vocal cords remain wide apart, voiceless, or in a state of vibration, voiced. The position of the soft palate. While describing consonants, we have to mention whether they are oral sounds produced with soft palate raised, thus blocking the nasal passage of air, or nasal sounds produced with the soft palate lowered. The articulators involved. In the description of consonants, we have to discuss the various articulators involved. The articulators are active, the lower lip and the tongue, and passive, that is the upper lip, the upper teeth, the roof of the mouth, divided into the teeth ridge, the hard palate and the soft palate, and the back wall of the throat pharynx. In the production of a consonant, the active articulator is moved towards the passive articulator. The chief points of articulation are bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, postalveolar, palatoalveolar, retroflex, palatal, velar, uvular, and glottal. In the case of some consonantal sounds, there can be a secondary place of articulation in addition to the primary. Thus, in the so-called dark, in addition to the particular alveolar contact, there is an essential raising of the back of the tongue towards the velum, velarization, or again some post-alveolar articulator, as in that are accompanied by slight lip rounding, labialization. The nature of structure. By the nature of structure, we mean the manner of articulation. This structure of obstruction made by the organs may be total, intermittent, partial, or may merely constitute a narrowing sufficient to cause friction. When the structure is that of complete closure, the active and passive articulators make a firm contact with each other and prevent the passage of air between them. For instance, in the production of P as in pin and B as in bin, the lips make a total closure. Structure may be such that air passes between the active and passive articulators intermittently. Such a structure is called intermittent closure and involves the vibration of the active articulator against the passive. The intermittent closure may be of such a short duration the active articulator strikes against the passive articulator once only. The English in the word varies. An example, the tip of the tongue active articulator makes one tap against the teeth-rich passive articulator. In the partial structure, the air passes between the active and passive articulators continuously, but with some difficulty. The sounds thus produced are clear and the clear and the dark respectively. And lastly, the structure may be such that the air while passing between the active and passive articulators produces audible friction. A structure which involves audible friction can be called a structure of close approximation, whereas one which involves no such friction can be called a structure of open approximation. Identification of consonants. We can describe and identify a consonant briefly by using a three-term label indicating whether the sound is voiceless or voiced, the place of articulation, the manner of articulation. For example, P in pant can be described as voiceless, B in bat as a voiced, M in mango as voiced, F in fan as voiceless. Vowels. Vowels may be defined with an open approximation without any obstruction, partial or complete in the air passage. They are referred to as vocoids in phonetics. They can be described in terms of three variables. These three variables are height of tongue, part of the tongue which is raised or lowered, lip rounding. So, vocioids are normally classified according to use three criteria: tongue height, high, mid, low or close, half open and open, tongue advancement, front, central, back, and lip rounding, that is rounded and unrounded. In order to describe the vowels, we usually draw 3 points in the horizontal axis: front, central, and back, referring to the part of the tongue which is the highest. So we have front vowels, during the production of which the front of the tongue is raised towards the hard palate. For example, IIEA in Hindi and IIE in English, as in sit, seat, sat, and sat, respectively. Back vowels, during the production of which the back of the tongue is raised towards the soft palate. Central vowels, during the production of which the central part of the tongue, the part between the front and the back, is raised. On the vertical axis, we usually draw 4 points: close, half open, and open. They are also referred to as a high, high, mid, mid, middle, low, mid, and low by some phoneticians, especially the American phoneticians. On the basis of the vertical axis, we have the following types of vowels. We can describe a vowel by using a three-term label indicating the height, the direction, advancement of the tongue, and the position of the lips. For example, A in the English word arm, back, open, unrounded vowel. Off in the English word hot, back, open, rounded vowel. L D in the English word neat, front, close, unrounded vowel. U in the English word tooth, back, close, rounded vowel. Syntactical meaning. Syntactical meaning is indicated by word order in a sentence. The position of words helps us to have understanding of the sentence. For example, in the sentence referred above, we know that the girl is beautiful and the boy is ugly. The beautiful girl comes before the verb marry, so we get the idea that the beautiful performed the action and not the boy. Morphological meaning. Morphological meaning is indicated by the form of the word. The form of the word girl as against girls and the form of the word boy as against boys tells us that there was only one boy and one girl. Again, the word married shows that the action was performed in the past and not in the present or in the future, as will be the case if marries or will marry are used. Intonational meaning. Meaning of the words or sentences also depends upon the way they are spoken. The words fire can be spoken in two ways: fall intonation and rising intonation. If we use falling intonation, the word fire gives us a warning that there is blaze. But if we use the rising intonation, it seems to ask a question whether there is really fire. Morpheme. A morpheme may be defined as the minimum meaningful unit of a word which cannot be further subdivided. Types of morphemes are free morpheme. A free morpheme is that unit of a word which can be spoken alone and it has meaning in normal speech. For example, body, dog, go, rich, fish, etc. Bound morpheme. A bound morpheme is that which has no independent existence of its own. It is always bound to come with a free morpheme. For example, un in the word uneven. Types of words are simple words. A word containing one free form of morpheme is termed as simple word. For example, boy, girl, etc. Compound words. A word containing two or more than two free forms of morpheme is called a compound word. For example, dining room, midnight, etc. Complex words. A word containing a mixture of free and bound form of morpheme is called a complex word. For example, unmanly, etc. Prefixes, word parts added to the beginning of words. Remember, word parts added to the beginning of words. Example, co in the word co-lecture, d in the word devalue, dis in the word disagree. Suffixes, word part added to the end of words. Remember, at the end of words. Example, s in the word boys, meant in the word establishment, er in the word player. Word formation. The phrase word formation does not mean the formation of words whose components did not exist. It rather means the development or evolution or conversion of words from pre-existing words and sounds. It is sometimes referred to all processes connected with changing the form of the word by, for example, affixation, which is a matter of morphology. In its wider sense, word formation denotes the processes of creation of new lexical units. Although it seems that the difference between morphological change of a word and creation of a new term are quite easy to perceive, there is sometimes a dispute as to whether blending is still morphological change or making a new word. There are numerous word formation processes that are similar in the majority of languages. These processes are compounding, derivation, back formation, shortening, conversion, and blending. Compounding. Compounding is a process which two different words are joined together to denote one thing. For example, flower pot is a compound made of two words, flower, and pot, but it does not d two things. It refers to one object. Some English compounds include windmill, waterfall, fingerprint, and scarecrow. Compounds are pronounced as one unit, but sometimes difficulties in writing arise. Some compounds are written with hyphens, full-time, good-looking. S are written separately. Bank account, miniskirt. Some can be written in both ways. Some popular of compounding words are noun plus noun, verb plus noun, noun plus verb, etc. Derivation. Derivation is probably the most common word formation process in the English language. It is achieved by adding affixes, prefix added at the beginning of a word, suffixes added to the end of a word, or infixes which are inserted in word. But infixes are unusual in English. English prefixes include, for example, re, un, miss, etc. Back formation. It is the process of forming word by extracting actual or supposed another words. Shortened words created from long words. Bag from beggar, gel from jelly. Shortening. This process is also called clipping. Clipping is the process of shortening or reducing words. It is very common in English, which can be seen on the following examples. Information is clipped to info, advertisement to advert, etc. Conversion. It is a change in function of a verb without changing its form. Nouns start to be used as verbs like bottle to bottle, bottling, etc. Blending. It is very similar to compounding, but it is characterized by taking only parts of words and joining. Famous English examples include smoke, which combines smoke and fog, motel made of motor and hotel. Listening to English sounds. The articulation of sounds of English may present a problem to children, especially if they do not occur in their mother tongue. Children learn the pronunciation of sounds from the family members at home and from other people they associate with. The mispronunciation of English sounds may be due to lack of these sounds in the children's mother tongue or an attempt to match these sounds with other sounds which they consider to be identical. It may also be because the people they listen to constantly mispronounce them. Identification of sounds. The teacher of English as second language should study the similarities and differences between the sounds of English and those of the mother tongue of children. They may find similar sounds easy to pronounce, but different sounds difficult to hear and produce. Intonation. Intonation or voice modulation involves the rise and fall of the voice. Intonation means to pronounce the words with proper speed, accurate voice, good and right pronunciation, exact tone without any fluctuation. It is the combination of musical tones on which we pronounce the syllables that make up our speech. Rising intonation means the pitch of the voice increases over time. Falling intonation means that the pitch decreases with time. A dipping intonation falls and then rises, whereas a peaking intonation rises and then falls. Differentiating syllables in intonation. Syllables rise or fall or do not change, or undergo a sharp or mild change of pitch as we intonate a sentence. These changes characterize the tone of the syllables, and we can differentiate these variously intonated syllables in a sentence. When a syllable is stressed in a sentence so that the pitch either rises or falls, it is characterized by a kinetic tone. When a syllable is stressed but the pitch neither rises nor falls, it remains unchanged. It is characterized by a static tone. The syllable which marks the point of change in the tone is the essential part of a tone. It forms the core of accent in sentence and we call it nucleus. Types of intonation are falling intonation, rising intonation, falling rising intonation, and rising falling intonation. Falling intonation. When the pitch of voice falls from high after a tonic syllable, it is said to be the falling tone. Examples: teaching is a noble profession. Where is the school? Rising intonation. When the pitch of voice goes up after the tonic syllable, it is said to be a rising tone. Examples: are you not going? I never said such a thing. Falling rising intonation. This tone refers to the falling of pitch from high mid to mid low level and then again rising to somewhat same level from where it fell. Examples: we hope he will pause. This is not what I promised. Rising falling intonation. This tone refers to the rise of pitch from mid low to high mid level and then again falling to mid low level. Functions of intonation are as follows. The right knowledge of intonation increases the familiarity of pupils with different words, phrases, quotations, sentences, etc. Sometimes intonation helps in identifying the motive of sentence as a question, especially when there are two identical sentences by choosing the tone of tonic syllable. It enhances vocabulary of pupils. Different tones, vocals, etc. are quickly caught by the pupils. A speaker can draw listeners' attention toward the message he/she wants to convey by using accentual function of intonation. Next is intonations are used for the purpose of expression of our attitudes and emotions. Influential teaching becomes possible through the study of intonation. Intonation may act as a tool for the teacher. A correct intonation creates a fluent and smooth atmosphere in the classroom. Thanks.